Hamas militants broke through barriers around Gaza and entered Israel at will, killing scores of civilians in Israeli towns. The surprise attack by Hamas on Israel suggests a massive intelligence failure, which analysts are flagging as intelligence gaps that undermine what was thought to be an aggressive and successful led approach towards Gaza by Israel. It has become a cause for deep embarrassment in Israel's security community. Citing a source close to Hamas, news agency Reuters stated the militant group conducted years-long campaign to manipulate Israel. Hamas fooled Tel Aviv into believing that it was not aiming for an armed conflict. The Hamas assault by air, land and sea also raised questions as to why the U.S. intelligence agencies apparently did not see this coming. U.S. officials have said that if the Israelis knew an attack was imminent, they did not share this with Washington. And U.S. officials are adamant they have refused to label the attack as an intelligence failure. The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has said, in fact, that no one saw the violence coming, but this very lack of intelligence has led to the deaths of 9 American civilians in Israel. According to reports, U.S. officials are discussing enhancing intelligence sharing with the Israelis to support the Israeli government in the response to the Hamas attack. In fact, days before the attack, the U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan pulled out a long list of positive developments in West Asia, while adding that these developments are allowing the Biden administration to focus on other regions and problems. Meanwhile, according to an Egyptian intelligence official, Cairo repeatedly warned Tel Aviv. However, the official said that the Israeli officials were more focused on the West Bank and ignored the threats from the Gaza Strip. And for more on this, with me on the broadcast this minute is Jacob Oladot, who is the Director of Research at GINSA's Jimunda Center for Defense and Strategy, joining us live from Washington, D.C. Thanks very much for being here on the broadcast. The questions that have been raised over the lack of intelligence, but also how this puts the U.S. in a rather embarrassing spot. What is your assessment of that?
Molly, thank you so much for having me on your program with your viewers. Good evening. I want to correct one commentary that you made. You left out one word, and that is Iran. Iran is behind this attack, as proven in a Wall Street Journal exclusive piece yesterday. Hamas and Hezbollah are both Iran proxies. They're top proxies. Hamas operatives have celebrated the support that Iran has given to this attack. So the damage that you described, the tragic damage that Palestinians have suffered, was because of Hamas, because of their use of civilians as human shields, hiding in schools and hospitals, and firing from those schools and hospitals into Israel. This is a barbaric entity that does not value human life. And they, Hezbollah and Iran, are a threat not just to the Israeli people, but to all peace-loving people around the world, to India, to Americans, to our allies around the world. So I'd like to just correct that before I get into my comments here. The question exactly of why this was indeed a surprise attack, but the answer again is because of Iran, because Israel was looking, many were looking to the north, thinking that would be where the front would open. Certainly Israel has been observing Iran's actions, its progress towards nuclear capability. And just last week at the United Nations, Iran's president made Iran's objectives pretty clear about the elimination of the Jewish state. They're working towards that end, but they won't act immediately until they see a response from the United States and its allies. India, the Prime Minister, has been tremendously important. He is a close ally. India is a close ally of Israel. They have immediately rushed to correctly voice their support. And right now is a time to look at our friends, to work with our friends and allies to create peace, not just in the Middle East, but in the world, in South Asia especially. And there's specific actions that can be taken. And I want to mention here, the rhetorical support is wonderful and critical.
Jacob, can I just ask you to comment specifically on the very question, the big question that has been raised over why the U.S. failed to give Israel enough opportunity to actually be aware of the kind of intelligence that should have been shared. Because let's face it, Israel was caught off guard by Hamas.
It was. I'm not aware, actually, of that report that America refused to give intelligence. I think there will be a time later on to look back and assess, to do a lessons learned of what went wrong, what went right. But right now is the time for action rhetoric. India is a leader in that. They've already demonstrated strong rhetoric and actions. Not every nation around the world has been acting the same way. Qatar, for example, needs to change its behavior and needs to face consequences for giving a platform to Hamas, whose leadership in Qatar presently are praising the attack. Hamas itself, Qatar, Freudian slip there, you might say, Qatar released a statement blaming Israel for what's happening. We need to recognize that not all nations share our values in this, that we know now who Israel's allies are, who the allies of peace are. India is, of course, the number one up on that list, but we also know which nations need to be held accountable finally. At the top of that list is Qatar.
We're leaving it there for the moment. Jacob, thanks very much for joining us on the broadcast. And as we continue to get into the various aspects of the Israel-Hamas war, let's just shift focus for now to get our viewers a better sense of the situation on the ground. Images of crying mothers, piles of bodies, missing family and relatives. These are the scenes of devastation that have been doing the rounds following the unprecedented attack on Israel by Hamas and its retaliation by the Israeli forces. The cumulative death toll now stands at about 1,300.
Ist meine Tochter Janine Kolog, eine deutsche Staatsbürgerin mit einer Touristengruppe im Süden von Israel entführt worden von palästinensischen Hamas.
There have been images that have been doing the rounds of desperate family members crying out for help, and also where we see the videos of the relatives who have been taken away by the Hamas militants.
כל ימי חיי, מאז שהיא נולדה, השתדלתי לגונן ולחבק אותה ולתמוך ולאהוב אותה. והנה ברגע הקשה הזה, לפחות לעודד אותה, לא יכולתי להגיש ליד, אז לומר לה משהו נועד, תדעתי. ראיתי את החבר שלה, אוי, זה ימים קשים, אוי, ימים קשים.
That's a father crying in agony. His young daughter was taken hostage by Hamas gunmen. Her whereabouts are still unknown. And most of the people have been finding out about their family members from the videos that have surfaced on social media.
ظهرك يابا ظهرك 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 ظهرك
بإذن الله تعالى إن شاء الله ربنا
Heute Morgen ist meine Tochter Janine Kolog, eine deutsche Staatsbürgerin mit einer Touristengruppe im Süden von Israel entführt worden von palästinensischen Hamas. Man hat uns ein Video zugeschickt, wo ich eindeutig unsere Tochter erkennen konnte, bewusstlos im Auto mit den Palästinensern und wie sie den Gazastreifen abgefahren sind. Ich bitte, jede Hilfe oder jede Neuigkeiten bitte zu uns schicken. Vielen Dank.
Families on both sides have been suffering. There have been women wailing for their children, family members lost, truckload of them being taken for burial.
خلي الشعب كله يقاوم مع أهل غزة، كلكم اطلعوا، ليش ساكتين؟ ليش ساكتين؟ حرام اللي بصير في هذا في غزة، والله حرام، شباب وأطفال وأولاد ونسوان كلهم راحوا، كل شبابنا وكل أولادنا كلهم راحوا، حرام هذا، والله حرام ظلم.
The loss is indescribable. Cities and towns flattened, houses destroyed, people rendered homeless and searching for those dead. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the updates on the move.